And nobody moved them. Okay. Uh, Time is flying, huh? Mother's Day. We want to speak this morning about a purpose-filled. And you said, well, I'm not a woman. If you're not a woman, then you need to leave. No, just kidding. It's all going to apply to all of us. I think that is a blessing. And we want to look at this teaching this morning, not just from the perspective of the woman itself, but how we view her and the respect that we ought to show, right, and the love and the support. And I want to take you to the book of Proverbs, chapter 31, verse 10. And it's and I'm going to read you different translations so you can kind of get a feel, get a really a good understanding of what the writer is trying to communicate here. And it is a question. He says, who can find a virtuous woman? He says, for her price is far above rubies. The other version says, who can find an excellent and capable wife? She is more precious than rubies. The other version says, a wife of noble character. Who can find? She is worth more than rubies. And the version that we usually use in this congregation says, an excellent wife, who can find? She is more precious than jewels. And I was telling you that we had the privilege of traveling different places in Europe, and I'm trying to remember which country it was. I think it was Austria. And they wanted us to look at some diamonds, right? And they put us in this room that was well secured, security guards, and it's very much secured place to show us some of their most precious diamonds. You know, you found there different size diamonds, and the prices were beyond reasoning, right? $250,000, $1 million for a diamond. It's something wild, right? And the writer here is saying that a woman with noble character, an excellent woman, right, is more valuable than any of those jewels. Isn't that interesting? Once a woman understands this, you know, what her value is, I think that she will never have any issues with low self-esteem, because the way God viewed you in eternity, right? The plan that He established in eternity for you as a woman was so awesome, and so He gave you purpose. And I want to talk about different things this morning, and I'm going to use a story that is really you're very familiar with. But we're going to look at three things that makes a woman faithful to her purpose. And the first one is understanding your godly calling. You know, besides the family, right? Besides the things that you want to accomplish for yourself as an individual, you as a woman was created, right, with a godly purpose, a godly calling, a godly mission. And the second thing is that we're going to look at your degree or level of influence that you have over men, over your men. And also, the third thing is the influence that you have over the children. And of course, for us that are not women, right? What is our role in supporting or helping or making sure that God's plan takes place in our women? Because the way God sees men, it is He sees men as the savior or the gatekeeper or the guardian of this purpose in women. And it's important because it's really interesting how we both work together to be able to fulfill God's purpose for all of us here on this earth. I want to take you to the book of Ruth, and we're going to look at this woman, and we're not going to study Ruth today, okay? We're going to study Naomi. And we're going to extract some principles that we find in this woman. And we are going to see those three things that I mentioned to you. First of all, the fulfillment of her godly purpose, her degree of influence over her husband, her relationship with her husband, and also the relationship with her children. Really interesting things. Okay? Ready? Okay. Now it came, chapter 1, verse 1. You do have a Ruth in your Bible, okay? Now it came about in the days when the judges governed that there was a famine in the land. And a certain man of Bethlehem in Judah went to sojourn in the land of Moab with his wife and his 2 sons. The name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the names of his 2 sons were Machlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem in Judah. Now they entered the land of Moab and remained there. When you read this, you realize that this family did not have plans to go to Moab. They were happy where they lived. You understand? And but like everything else, you know, say things change. And whether we like it or not, external things have a tendency of having an impact on the decisions that we make, right? A lot of times we don't want to make certain decisions. We don't want to make certain moves. But because of circumstances, we are forced to do certain things. Change is never a good, appealing thought, especially when you feel comfortable, right? You're comfortable, you don't want to make any changes. We say we don't want to rock the boat, man. We're okay here. Because, you know, when you think about a change, you're always thinking about, say, risk. And when there's risk, there is fear. Right? And you don't want to experience this because it causes a lot of anxiety. So these people, because of the economic circumstances at home, they have to think about better possibilities, right, for them and for their children. Now, I was telling you the other day that I wish there was a parenting university that would take in future parents and teach them, about what they're getting themselves into. Because most of us got into parenthood really not understanding much about parenting. And poor child, the first one, right, was the one that really got it. Because we kind of learned with them, and we made most of our mistakes with the first one. And it's interesting, in most cases, those are the ones that come out stronger, and just because, I don't know, it's the mercy of God. And I was telling you that when we enter into parenthood, we don't realize that it is a lifetime commitment. Isn't that true? For some reason, I don't know if you thought the same way, but I thought, well, that they turn 18, 19, 20, and they're out of the house, and bye-bye, and you don't have to worry about them no longer. And the first thing that you find out when they turn 18 is that they don't want to leave. Right? They're comfortable at home. And those of you that have had your kids and that actually have left, it doesn't make any difference because you're still worrying about them. They could be 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. They have their own kids and their own grandkids, and the father and the mother still, did you eat? Isn't that true? Say it's a lifetime commitment. And so for those of you that don't have any, you're hearing it from me now, so you got to understand what you're getting yourself into. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that it is a lifetime commitment. It is not going to be a short-term thing. It's a long-term thing. And you got to know what you're getting yourself into. And so, of course, it's one thing to deal with the husband, right? Sometimes the husband is part of the children that the woman has. Not in this congregation, in other congregations. But it's another thing to deal with the children, and so the woman is sort of expected to make those changes. That's why it's called. They're not found anywhere. They're very rare. That's what the writer's saying. Where do you find this woman with noble character, with excellence, that is able to balance, right, her responsibility, her love, her respect, her time between her husband and her children? That's a big task. And when I look at the relationships, and I read and I observe, right, I thank God I was not one, right? Because they work a lot. Right? And my respect to all of you, whether you stay at home and you work from the house, or you work at the house and outside, it's even a greater commitment, a greater sense of responsibility. And so you got to find that balance, right? And I don't know if you remember with the first child, right? If things were not understood correctly, if the husband and wife did not have those special conversations about what it entailed to have a child, there was a certain degree of jealousy on the part of the husband. How many understand what I'm talking about? Because now the woman has to invest a lot more time with the baby, right? And the husband feels neglected, right? And there's issues there that happen, And I'm saying all these things though, for those of you that are not married or about to get married and don't have the children. Those things are needed to be discussed. Because a woman with no children is not the same as a woman with a child. It's a lot more time that it's demanded of her, and that means that if you are not ready for that as a husband, you need to talk about those things, right? Because it's going to be an issue. You can't just pick up and leave, right? Let's go. No, now it's how you doing with the kid and the clothes and the food and the this and the that and it's food for three times or 4 times. I don't know how many times. I forgot how many times they eat during the day. They eat a lot of times. So it's a task now. It's a different lifestyle that you have to understand before you get yourself into that. And so we find here that when you're dealing with this stuff, right, and now you have to face an economic challenge. That's another situation to be concerned with. And in studying and in reading about the causes for divorce in our society today, one of the main causes of divorce in our society is lack of finances, lack of money, because it creates so much pressure on the marriage, right? That in most cases, if they're not well educated in the word and who they are and what they're here to do, this thing will just bust their marriage open, and is one of the major causes. So this is what this couple is experiencing. They're experiencing creating balance, right? They're experiencing now they have to make a big move. Those of you that move from one country to another, has anybody done that? A few of you? You know, I remember when my dad told us, "Hey, we're moving to America." I said, "What? We're moving to America? We didn't want to come here." You know, especially those of us that were in school, we're happy with our friends. We didn't want to leave. It took us, my sister and I, 3 more months than the rest of the family, because we stayed over there with my dad, and my mom was already here with half of the family. It's not an easy thing, right? Move from one country to another country. I mean, it's not an easy thing to move from one house to another house. Imagine going from one country to another country with a family. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing. So when they discussed the possibilities of moving out of their country to a new country, they did not speak the language, right? They did not know anybody. Now it's a problem. But we find this woman, Naomi. Say Naomi. This is the woman that we're studying today. She is a wise woman, and write this down. She shows her wisdom by supporting and accompanying her husband to find a better life. She shows wisdom. Now remember, as men, right, we make decisions all the time. Some are good, some are bad. But the decisions have to be made. The decisions have to be made. Sometimes, you know, you don't have the luxury of understanding everything that you're about to do, right? But you have to make a decision. And there's nothing worse than not getting the support of the wife, right? Of the woman. Because on one hand, you're feeling the pressures of the things that you're facing and the challenges that you're facing, and on the other one, you have an unwilling, woman to help you and support you in that decision that you're about to make, and it is, in most cases is a difficult decision. So we find Naomi here showing support, right? They have 2 kids, so we have a good woman, right? A good wife and a good mother supporting the decision that the family has just made. Now, we as a family started doing something several years ago that I highly recommend to those of you that have families and you have never done this. I mean, you'll see the benefit of it. And I wish I would have understood this many, many years ago. we started having what we call a board of directors meetings, right? And I started treating the family like if it was an enterprise, right? And I said, man, I wish I would have done this a long, long time ago. So I would do like an agenda of the things that we're gonna talk about, and sit them all down, and then give them a piece of paper. There's other things that we're going to discuss today. This is a serious meeting. When you get a piece of paper like that at home, it's a serious meeting, right? We're going to talk about what? Say serious things. We need to make decisions. Say, make decisions. Because if you make the decisions without taking them into account, they're always going to what? Blame you if things don't come out right. And if they come out right, they're going to take the credit anyways. So it's important that you get to hear them. At least, it doesn't mean that you're going to do what they say, but at least give them an opportunity to consider what you're about to get yourself into. And it feels better. Even if the thing doesn't turn out the way you thought it was going to turn out, at least you had their support. And you're going to fight together, say, as a family. Especially when you're about to make a very serious move. And so we find this family moving together as a unit. So we find the wife that is doing her part as a wife and as a mother. And let's continue reading here. Verse 3. Then Elimelech, Naomi's husband, what happened? Died. You think this was part of the plan? No. And she was left with her 2 sons. So now Naomi becomes a single mom. Say, things don't usually go according to plan. You plan something. How do you plan somebody's death? Things will come up, things that are not expected. Unexpected things come up. Tragedy comes up. Remember, we have taught here many, many times that the evil day comes to everybody. It doesn't matter how many good plans you have or desires, obstacles are going to come your way. And we always have said also that in the moments of difficulty is when the true manifestation of your character comes about. It's manifested. When things get tough, people realize who they are and what they have and how much strength they have or lack of it, right? In times of difficulty. So now this woman is in a different country, right? I'm sure they went there because they had high hopes and they have great dreams of having a better life. But now she finds herself with no husband. Now, you think you're having some issues today, huh? This woman is having some really serious issues. And so remember, we're talking about this noble woman, right? This excellent woman. Where do we find her, right? And we're trying to realize, okay, so what is her purpose? What is she going through all this stuff? And how is she affecting her husband? How is she affecting her children? Those are the 3 things that we're looking at. This woman becomes, right, a single mom. Write this down, please. It is important, for those of you that are not married yet, it is important that you are a whole person, a whole woman, a complete woman before you enter marriage. The challenges that cannot be overcome is when this principle is violated, right? When you enter into marriage thinking that the hubby is the one that is going to help you achieve your perfection or your wholeness, and when tragedy hits before that happens, We've seen it many, many times. The woman is right there. She has no idea what she's going to do. And she'll go through a lot of pain and a lot of sacrifice, a lot of unnecessary pain because of lack of preparedness. Is this making sense? So you got to be complete before you're married. The second thing here under this is that a woman needs to become an expert in all affairs, inside and outside the home. You can't wait till he dies. Why is it that men usually die first? I don't get this one. Have you noticed that in most cases, man dies first? Huh? A man cannot live without the woman. Come on, women, it's your day, so you can think whatever you want. It's terrible when a woman is left alone and has no idea what the husband used to do, especially if he has a business. So those of you that that work out of the house, and you got to know, you got to understand all the affairs. You got to understand what your husband has gotten himself into also. And has gotten your signature without your permission, because you might get stuck with some stuff that you don't know about and not appreciate right now. I was talking to a woman the other day, and she was telling me, he left me with this and that and that and that, and my credit and my name. Did not leave any money, but left a lot of debt. That's not a good thing. So you got to ask, you got to know, you got to become an expert in the things at home and the things outside the home. Because you don't know what could happen. A noble woman, right? An excellent woman, the woman that is more precious than rubies, than jewels, diamonds, is going to do this because it is wise. Say, because it is wise. Don't stick your head in the sand. Says, I don't want to know. He'll take care of it. I don't know. If it's too quiet, something's not right. You got to find out. Say, ask the questions. How do you do this? Where? Why? This thing about, that's why I say, some of you men might not like what I say, but that's okay. This thing about having separate accounts in a marriage, it's a bad thing. Something's not right there. You don't trust your woman. If you don't trust your woman, why are you with her? Why did you marry her, right? And so you got to ask, what do you have a separate account? How much? Why? What do you get yourself into? Where are you? Who are you? Who are you? Right? Find out. Say, find out. I was at a conference the other day, and they were talking about this woman that her husband, I forget the name of the business or the enterprise that he had, and he passed away. And she took over the business. And she went over to the board of directors and started asking questions. So they had 3 companies, right? In the enterprise, that they had. And she goes, so tell me, what is it that we do? Tell me about the 3 companies. And the man in charge, right, the CEO, said, don't worry about it. She goes, we are going to continue running the companies. You just go home and we'll just send you a check. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of the affairs. He goes, because that's what your husband would have wanted. And then she said, well, my husband is not around any longer. Now you're going to do things the way I say so, because now I'm the owner of the companies. I want to know what is going on. So now they were forced to tell her, right? Well, company number 1 is very profitable, right? Company number 2, right? Sometimes we're profitable, sometimes we're not profitable. Company number 3 is the one that your husband really loved and has not made any money, but is showing a lot of promise. And the first thing that she asked was, how long has it been showing a lot of promise? Well, it's looked good for the last 6 years. I said, 6 years and it has not made any money? She goes, no. Okay, we shut down that company. No. He goes, that's not what your husband would have wanted. She goes, remember, my husband is no longer here. He passed away already. So you're going to do things my way now. The company that is making money, we're going to put the resources from the company that we're shutting down, and we're going to make it more profitable. And next say, an excellent woman. Say, an excellent woman. You understand? You got to be what? In all affairs. Don't stick your head in the sand. Ask, find out, learn. Right? It goes back to things that we teach, and it's in that book that you gotta get that book that we just came out with, because we talk about the profile of this woman, and it's important because a woman has to be always remembering that when she marries, right, her own purpose, her own dreams cannot be taken away just because she got married. And that's a problem that we've had in our society, especially the Hispanic society. Right? The woman marries and all of a sudden she gets lost in him. And that's not what the Bible teaches. It is two goals, dreams coming together to create a third one that you both are going to strengthen. And this unit that has been created is now strengthening the goals of each other. Is this making sense? But no one disappears. Even though you become one flesh, your own individual dreams don't disappear, because you're still an individual, right? That God is going to bring to account, because you have received gifts to do certain things on your own, right? But you're creating something new and you're strengthening something new to allow these things to continue. Is this making sense? So, this woman she knew what she was talking about. Make sure that you know then what is going on, so when tragedy appears, you are prepared. Say prepared. They took for themselves Moabite women as wives, talking about the sons, right? The name of one was Orpha, and the name of the other Ruth. Does that sound familiar, Ruth? We'll talk a little bit about her, right? But we're speaking today about Naomi. And they lived there about how many years? Say 10 years. Third thing that I want you to see about Naomi. The first thing was that she was a wise woman that supported her husband, right? Accompanied him. The second thing was that she became a single mom, right? And was able to take care of her situation. And the third thing is that the ideal woman, right, extends her life of excellence even to her daughters-in-law or sons-in-law. The ideal woman. This is the other thing that they have to teach in parenting school. That not only will you have sons and daughters, right? But you're also going to have sons-in-law, daughters-in-law. This is like no big deal, right? It's a big deal. It is a big deal. You don't think about it until they come. So, oh my God, he's trying to take my son. He's trying to take my daughter. Because you feel like that. If you don't have a good understanding of what is happening, and some of you are almost there, so you better pay close attention to this. You got to understand that there's certain dynamics that take place in the family, and be able to accept and realize that part of the purpose, right, of parenting is not only to have an influence over your own children, but the children that your children are going to bring over. The children that your children are going to attract, the men and women that are going to become part of your family. Yeah, they weren't maybe part of the plan, but they ought to be. And if we don't pay attention, then we pay consequences later. It's better to work with your future son-in-law before he becomes your son-in-law. It's better to work with your future daughter-in-law before she becomes your daughter-in-law. Because after they become, you can scream and cry and do all the things, but it's too late. They're there now. This isn't making sense. And in most cases, it happens to most of us. If we don't like the future son-in-law, the future daughter-in-law, we just give her all kinds of trouble so she can go away or so he can go away. And in most cases, they don't go away. And we lost the opportunity of working with them and helping them grow and prepare them, right, so they can be a whole person before they get married, and then everybody pays consequences because of that. Is this making sense? So it's better to, what is that medicine that we use so we won't get sick? Preventive medicine, right? It's better to have those preventive meetings and teachings and direction to him, to her. Prepare them, help them prepare and become a whole person, a complete person. If they have faults, don't get angry. Help them overcome those faults, because now, if they like each other, they love each other, they're not going away, people. And if you become an obstacle, a strong enough obstacle, they're just going to put you aside. They're still going to get married. And you're still going to have to deal with the issues later on. Without their love and without their support. Because you did not show wisdom prior to. Is this making sense? Maybe you've never heard of this before, but you got to hear it now. So Naomi, you can see Naomi. Remember that you judge a person by the end result, right? By their fruits. That's what Jesus says. You shall know them by their fruits. And you see her that she did this kind of work, because the relationship that she develops with her daughters-in-law it's a very powerful relationship. We could actually write a book about this relationship. It's pretty powerful. I mean, talking about being a happy mother, if you do these things, you'll be a happy one. Otherwise, you put yourself in a situation that there's always bitterness and misunderstandings, right? Resentments. Oh, it's horrible. You know relationships like that? Where the mom cannot stand the son-in-law, or usually the way it happens, if the mom cannot stand the son-in-law, you're going to have problems your whole life. Then the daughter-in-law will never accept the mother-in-law, and it is a pain for 30, 40 years until she dies. And with the men is the daughter-in-law, right? Or the son-in-law, right? There you go. The mom cannot stand the daughter-in-law, and the dad has more issues with the son-in-law. That's how it works. Yeah. And so we need to be wise. Say wise. And be able to create the proper environment and have the proper plan, right? To look into, say, the future. Say future. Don't get stuck today. Don't get stuck on how you feel. Don't get stuck today. Because you won't be able to see tomorrow. And tomorrow is going to be a long tomorrow. Today will be over with. But tomorrow, it's years of tomorrows. You understand this? And it's generations of tomorrows. Because this problem doesn't stop, with the children. It's the grandchildren. And it continues on if you don't address it today. I'm giving you a very powerful teaching today. Even though it's serious time, right? I hope that you're taking it in. So she understood, right, this ideal woman, how important it was for her sons, for her to get along with their wives. And it's so simple but so powerful. A son wants her mom to get along with his wife. That's why I always tell you. I mean, when I'm doing premarital counseling, I tell the couple, I go, hey, how do you guys get along with the families? And I've heard it this many times. I'm not marrying the family. I go, yes, you are. Yes, you are. It's foolish to think that you're not. And you can say, oh, no, I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to worry about, huh? Well, you're not going to worry now, but you're going to worry later. And later is later. Later is late. It is too late. You look at it now. There's issues with the family. You better fix them now before you get yourself into a serious relationship. Because they're not going to go away. I'm telling you right now, they're not going to go away. And so it is important for the son, right? It is important for the daughter that the mom gets along with the husband. That the mom gets along with the wife. Because it's going to make the next generation stronger. Is this making sense? Yes. Because now the mom, because she gets along with the daughter-in-law, she's going to share wisdom. Simple things. They're very important. She doesn't get along, stay away. And you're going to become an obstacle for the rest of the life of that woman. Is this making sense? If the husband, right, understands, the father understands this, he's going to share wisdom with the son-in-law, right? See, that's why understanding our purpose, right, it's important. We were created to extend, right, to give by grace the things that we have received by grace. But those things are important to deal with, to understand, to consider. See, second thing under the ideal woman is being able to live together with your sons and their wives. Show great sense of character. She lived with them for 10 years. They lived for 10 years together. Most women cannot do this. And the reason for that is, what do you think it is? What do you think it is? Why would a mother-in-law be able to live together with their sons? And I'm not talking in the same house, okay? But it could happen. I'm not talking in the same house. The lack of preparation of the things that we just talked about. If you don't make prevention, don't take preventive steps, right? You're not going to lay down the foundation for the proper relationship that you're going to have. But this woman did. She got along with them before, right? So after, it will say easier. And that's what you want to do all the time, right? Okay. Are we learning something? Write this down. Number 4 is. Then both, Ruth 1:5. Then both Machlon and Chilion also died. Wow. And the woman was bereaved of her 2 children and her husband. Now, can you manage tragedy? You can manage tragedy. You can manage how you respond to it, right? But tragedy, how do you control tragedy? I mean, this is, you lose the husband and then you lose your 2 sons. I mean, we read it and we just don't pay attention to details. Now she's left this is in a foreign country, no husband, no sons. Now she's stuck with her daughters-in-law. But she's not stuck, see? That's what I'm trying to get to right now. She has 2 daughters-in-law that love her and respect her. It is so beautiful to find this. You don't find this anywhere. Very difficult to find daughters-in-law that actually love and respect her mothers-in-law. But these 2 women do. There's a reason. In times like this, in times of tragedy, we said the true character of a person comes to the surface. When the sons are not around any longer, right? You get to see the true love that the daughters-in-law actually had for the mother-in-law. And you see it in the story, right? When the sons-in-law are no longer around, and if there was not a good relationship, they will not visit the mother-in-law any longer. They just want to stay away if there was not a good relationship. It's done now. We says, man, we are free now from this woman. Right? But in this case, Naomi, the ideal, right? The virtuous, the woman of noble character, the excellent woman, more precious than rubies. Man, how can you not want to be with that woman, right? How can you not want to be with that mother-in-law? How can you not want to be around? And you see it here in the story, right? Let's continue, because I want to finish it. Ruth 1:6. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law that she might return from the land of Moab, for she had heard in the land of Moab that the Lord had visited his people and given them food. So she departed from the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her. And they went on the way to return to the land of Judah. And Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, return each of you to her mother's house. May the Lord deal kindly with you as you have dealt with the dead and with me. May the Lord grant that you may find rest, each in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voices and wept. What they do? Say, both of them wept. This woman, write this down, recognized her time to live back home. She recognized her time. It was time to go back. Sometimes there's a time to leave, right? So come on, write this down somewhere. It's a time to leave. You can't press. You can't continue pressing, because if you stay there longer than what you're supposed to be, then you become what? A burden. None of us were created to be a burden. So you got to be very sensitive. Yeah, they love me. Yeah, they like me. But it's time for me to go. Because if you don't, that thing about they like me and they want me is not going to last long. Soon, you'll have problems. I had a sister that came to me, as a matter of fact, this past week, and she goes, Pastor, I need some advice. Well, tell me. She goes, I have some daughters in another state, and they want me to go and live with them. And they, and I go, do you have a job here? Yeah, I have a job. She has a good job here. And I go, what are you going to do over there? Well, they want me to take care of their kids. I go, it's nice. And for how long? Indefinite. Indefinite. Oh, that's nice. She goes, and I don't feel comfortable. Okay, let's talk about that. I go, why don't you feel comfortable? She goes, because I don't know what I'm going to do over there. Okay, well, that's a good point. And I don't know for how long I want to be there. Well, that's even a better point. I go, so if you don't feel comfortable, why are you going to do this? Well, why? Well, because when they were growing up, I didn't give them enough time. Yeah, that was before. That's not going to change anything today. Can anybody go back and fix their past? The mistakes or whatever that you did in the past, can you go fix them? No. Why are you going to ruin your future trying to fix the past and you can't fix it? That's what I told her. I go, you're feeling uncomfortable because you're being asked to do the wrong thing. There's a time, I go visit. You want to stay with her a month? Good. But it's got to be a definite period of time. For a definite purpose, Now go, do whatever you're going to do, and then continue on with your life. There's a time to leave. Don't leave, you're going to be in trouble. That relationship that started to be a good relationship is going to grow sour, and then it's going to really mess it up. Even if it feels comfortable, say it feels comfortable. It doesn't matter. So there's a time to leave. Okay. $113. Gotta get to the finish. Would you therefore wait until they were grown? Would you therefore... Did I skip something? Okay, and they said to her, no, but we will surely return with you to your people. But Naomi said, return, my daughters, why should you go with me? Have I yet sons in my womb that they may be your husbands? Return, my daughters, go, for I am too old to have a husband. If I said I have hope, if I should even have a husband tonight and also bear sons. So she showed sincere concern for the well-being of her daughters-in-law. Says, stay with your families. I'm leaving. Ruth 1:13. This is what I'm going to get to here. So we can finish. You therefore wait until they were grown. Would you therefore refrain from marrying? No, my daughters, for it is harder for me than for you, for the hand of the Lord has gone forth against me. And they lifted up their voices and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. Then she said, behold, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and her gods. Return after your sister-in-law. But Ruth said, do not urge me to leave you or to turn back from following you. For wherever you go, listen to these words, okay? I will go, and wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. Thus may the Lord do to me, and worse, if anything, but death parts you and me. She had left such a strong impression on them that Ruth said, you know what? My love for you, my respect is stronger than any future son that you can give me. Isn't that something? She was so in tune with her purpose that she had a lifetime, years of manifesting God's grace and love, wisdom, you understand? Respect, that Ruth got so impressed. Why are we saying this? Watch this. Ruth 1:18. When she saw that she was determined to go with her, she said no more to her. In other words, Naomi saw in Ruth a person that had so much respect for her. She goes, you got to go with me. Now, who is Ruth, people? Who is Ruth? Who is Ruth? What is Ruth's importance in our history? No, wait. Who is Ruth? Huh? Ruth becomes, if you look at the Jesus' family tree, genealogy, Jesus comes from that family. Without Ruth, there is no Savior. You understand this? If Ruth stays over there, that's why I said you got to understand what your godly purpose is. Can't get stuck with the husband. Can't get stuck with the children only. Sometimes we don't understand this. And the husband and the children robbed us or takes us away from our purpose to God. Can't serve no longer because you have children. Then children grow and you still can't serve because now they're older. You can't serve because the husband is around, and then if the husband leaves, you still can't serve because now he's not there. And all of a sudden you become so entangled with the things around you that you forget about your purpose to God. And Naomi was so in tune with who she was and her role in God's plan for humanity that she made sure that Ruth was impacted by her life till the very end. Because she could have said, no, stay. But she was sensitive to her purpose. Okay, if you feel that way, let's go. And Ruth becomes the mother of the Savior. So you can understand me, right? Without her, there is no plan. The plan would have been stopped. But it had to happen. A woman named Naomi had to be able to cooperate with her lifestyle, with her investment, to cause Ruth to follow her and become the instrument that God was going to use. Is this making sense? You have, women, you are so beautiful and you have so many responsibilities, and a lot of you sometimes feel overburdened, right? Overwhelmed. They say, why me? Why am I? All this stuff that is going, why am I? Because you say, because I'm able to. Say, because I'm able to. And God has seen you. He has seen your strength. Imagine a man having a baby. I cannot picture that. Just having the baby. Forget taking care of the baby, right? There's strength in you that men do not possess. So you ought to get up every morning and say, thank you, Lord, because you have seen something awesome in me. And that you are continue to move faithfully in your purpose to do the things that God has called you to do, and the other responsibilities that you have, that you continue fulfilling those responsibilities without putting aside the responsibility of being the woman that God called you to be. Stand with me, please.